The big mountain opened its mouth and then spewed out a large amount of oil, laughing triumphantly and showing off its wealth. The other two big mountains saw this and began to clap for it. The second big mountain immediately started to sprinkle gold from its mouth, even placing a golden crown on its head and touching its gold teeth. The third big mountain also opened its mouth and spouted lava, proving its power. The little hill in the corner kept clapping for them. The three big mountains looked at the little hill, wondering what it had in its mouth. The little hill reached inside and pulled out a small ball. The big mountains picked up the ball curiously, but found it unremarkable and laughed loudly at the little hill, tossing the ball back casually. Faced with the big mountain's ridicule, the little hill felt very sad and thought the ball had embarrassed it, so it threw the ball aside. On the other side, the three big mountains quietly plotted a plan. They gathered the clouds in the sky together to form a huge dark cloud. The dark cloud began to pour heavy rain, and the big mountains placed the cloud right over the little hill. It turned out that the big mountains, thinking the little hill was poor, wanted to play a trick on it. At night, the big mountains, tired from their mischief, decided to rest, while the little hill was still being drenched by the rain. The little hill fantasized about becoming a big mountain and taking all the other mountains' wealth, but the fantasy couldn't come true. The little hill still couldn't bear to part with the ball and reached out to pick it up again. As the ball passed through the rainwater, it unexpectedly produced a musical note. The little hill was delighted and began to play music with it. Then, looking at the ball in its hand, the little hill realized that the ball was its closest companion, so it put the ball back into its mouth. Soon, the dark cloud dispersed and eventually turned into a small white cloud. When the little hill woke up, it wanted to find the ball but discovered that the ball had disappeared. Suddenly, a bunch of vines sprouted from the little hill's mouth. The little hill quickly closed its mouth, but it still faced the big mountain's ridicule. However, a large number of balls suddenly buried the big mountains, and a squirrel emerged. It came to the little hill's hand, scolded the three big mountains, and then returned the ball to the little hill before leaving. The little hill looked in the direction the squirrel had gone and smiled happily. Above it was a huge tree, so big that it almost filled the entire sky. It turned out that the ball the little hill had swallowed was a pine cone, which, watered by the rain, grew into a pine tree larger than the three big mountains. Although the big mountains were wealthy and the little hill was poor, one should never give up on themselves, because one day they might become a towering tree.